Saints at Bears, the Windy City. It's windy, and Sean's going to go on his soapbox, so I don't want to ruin it, but I actually am going to say it. It's not the Windy City because of winds. It's the Windy City because of politics. But it's still windy this week.
So weird.
It is.
Yeah, so the forecast in Chicago is about 24-mile-an-hour winds, maybe gusting up to 30, and temperatures around 40. So it could be a cool, blustery day in Chicago. Chicago is a really interesting place in terms of fantasy performance. When you look at all games played in Chicago, it actually matches distribution almost perfectly. So looking at skews based on weather in Chicago gives a sense that there may actually be a true signal there. And Chicago does show effects on almost all positions, especially in wind. So I'm going to start off here by talking about New Orleans. New Orleans is obviously going against the Bears defense, which is one of the top-ranked defenses against the pass. They've held quarterbacks to 57.1% completion rates. They're the third fewest yards per pass attempt, and they've only given up 4 passing touchdowns. So that already doesn't bode well for Drew Brees. Throw in that the New Orleans depth chart in wide receivers is not looking great right now either. Emmanuel Sanders is out. Benny Fowler's on IR. Michael Thomas is questionable. He practiced today, but we don't know if he's going to be able to perform. Marquez Callaway is also questionable. It just doesn't look good for Brees or the New Orleans Saints offense.
So I have Brees's data up, Nick, for you on the screen for everyone if you want to talk through this. I did it at 15-mile-an-hour winds and above.
Yep. So Brees is interesting because he really hasn't been tested much in high wind events, and that's to be expected since he plays most of his games indoors or in the South. When it comes to Brees' performance in windy games, he definitely does show a little bit of a drop in performance against his career stats again, but the sample size is very small. I don't think Drew Brees has much upside in this game, given the forecast and also given the injury problems with wide receiver core.
I would agree there, Nick. I do something funny here in my ESPN league. Drew Brees is actually on my free agent list, and I'm in need of a start of a quarterback because my starting quarterback is Murray is on a bye. So I'm looking at Drew Brees, and I'm like, wow, Drew Brees is actually on the free agent list. And I'm like, do I start him? And after looking at our information here, knowing there's going to be a win game, knowing he's at the end of his career, hasn't been performing as he normally Drew Brees does, with Michael Thomas potentially out here, I'm staying away from him. I'm actually biting a bullet here because I think I'm starting Jimmy Garoppolo over Drew Brees this week.
Did you ever think you would utter that statement, Mike? I'm starting Jimmy Garoppolo over Drew Brees.
I mean,
am I crazy, guys?
No, I mean, if you look at the distribution here, based on his career stats, notice all the orange bars to the right, right? So he has a sample where obviously Drew Brees has performed and he's performed really well. Now, like Nick mentioned, this is a limited sample size, but notice all of the green bars. Those are more off to the right, which means during these windy games, he's not performing as well. Now, again, hey, we only have 4 games here, but he's barely surpassed 20 points in any one of these 4 games. And against the tough Bears defense, I think the potential for a boom game from Drew Brees, if that's what you're dependent on this week, it's not going to happen.
He's almost 5.5 points off his mean. It's even more than Cam that we were talking about earlier. Yeah. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. And he's only played 10 games over 11-mile-per-hour winds. So I think Drew Brees is off the table here.
Honest question, guys. If Michael Thomas sits, who's the Saints' wideout number 1?
Gotta go Cook.
So you go tight end, but I mean, dead serious. Of the wide receiving core that they have, who's the wide receiver 1?
Like literally just wide receiver. I was going to say Alvin Kamara or Cook, but those aren't even options at this point.
I don't even know.
I guess it's Traquan Smith, right? I mean,
yeah, Traquan Smith has got to be. I don't even know.
Yeah.
So it's interesting you mentioned Jared Cook. He's priced at $4,400 for tight ends, but again, if he gets a lot of targets, I don't think he's going to get in the end zone that much, and I think that hurts his value.
Yeah, I think he's going to have limited opportunities, but at least in the red zone he'll have limited opportunities.
So 4,400 in DFS isn't that bad. I don't know what it is as the ranking for like tight ends, but in full point PPR, if he does get 4 receptions. That gives him up to 4 points. He gets 40 yards. That could be enough to retain his 4,400 value. But again, I'm not hitching my wagon to this game. So
to finish up on New Orleans, Alvin Kamara could be an interesting play. Chicago's defense has kind of been middle of the road against the running game. Last week, I think they gave up 161 yards to the Colts, and Phillips Rivers didn't have a great game, so they really went to the running game there. But Kamara could have an interesting performance this week, although I think he's priced pretty high, as he should be.
It's a star. It's been amazing this year.
I think of any players this week, that's who I'd be going for.
Yeah,
It's Kamara. Love that guy. He almost won us $1,000, Mike. Too bad for his back correction.
Well, if you had him last year, you have a very sour taste in your mouth, like I do. Because he was not a good producer last year.
So, I mean, other than Kamara, is there anybody else you'd start on the Saints side? Is it maybe Cook?
Maybe. I would look elsewhere, though, I think. I think the Bears' defense is just too strong against the pass right now.
Yeah. I think there's better options at tight end. You could take a flyer on. I noticed Johnny Smith is very cheap. Yeah, Colin.
You were saying that you went for running backs this year or this week on your DFS. I haven't looked at your lineup. Are you taking Kamara?
I haven't posted it yet.
Oh, are you taking? I think from this conversation, I would put a bet that Kamara 8,200 is in that lineup.
He is not in that lineup.
Yeah, he's already got Delvin Cook.
I do.
Oh,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's a possible switch out if he doesn't play, but I think he's coming back. So I'll tell you guys right now, sneak peek, I'll be releasing this blog out tomorrow. But of the running backs, I'm actually going with Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, and Myles Gaskin in my flex. Those are my 3 running backs.
20 grand, 25 grand on running backs?
Yeah, I definitely paid down for wide receivers this week by far. And my quarterback, I'm taking a flyer on a first game ever professional.
Tua.
There it is.
Oh, pick of the year.
Oh man, Mike, that's a bold move.
It's a bold
I
move.
like that.
No data on him. We have no idea how he's going to perform.
And he's got a tough matchup against the Rams. But you know what? No one knows how Tua is going to perform here. So he's priced in at 5,600. I'm taking a flyer on him. I want to see what he does.
Rams defense has been stout of late. Killed the Bears last week.
Well, it's the Bears, Sean. Come on.
Circling back, is there anything else you want to talk about the Bears-Saints game?
I think some people may be interested here in starting Nick Foles. The New Orleans defense has given up the 3rd most fantasy points to QBs, but I think Nick Foles actually struggles pretty significantly in weather events. And if you were to show Nick Foles in our tool with some wind, you'll see
I'll let you know when I bring up.
You'll see a pretty significant drop in his performance. I think it's like 10% or so.
Wow.
So I think Nick Foles is a dangerous start here. If you can find better value somewhere else, I would stay away from him in this game.
That's a good point
for you. So I got it up for you for.
Nick Foles looked really rough against the Rams. So did just the Bears' offense in general.
It's a 60% drop in fantasy performance. And his TD production goes down significantly. On average, he throws about 1.25 touchdowns a game. And when you factor in wind, it drops to less than a touchdown, really less than half a touchdown. So I think Foles is also off the table in this game. I don't really think there's anyone I would start in here except the Chicago defense and maybe Kamara.
How do you feel about Montgomery?
Ty Montgomery? Is he still out?
No, David Montgomery.
David Montgomery running back.
David Montgomery, yeah.
There's your answer. I don't know.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
He hasn't been that bad. He had a pretty solid floor, David Montgomery this year.
Safe floor, I would agree. Safe floor.
Not a lot of upside, but a floor has been there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested in seeing how much he's going in DraftKings right now. He's at 5,900. Yeah. He's right around like Alexander Madison, Gio Bernard, Jerick McKinnon, Melvin Gordon range. I don't know.
I like that Bernard play at 5,800 there. I haven't seen any status updates with the injury.
Yeah.
So he might be another solid play again this week.
Yeah, agreed.